What's good and what's not so good about living in Rapid City? It's the Pros and Cons 2026 edition. However, I'm Tristan, Emond, Mindful Living Realty, a realtor right here in Rapid City, South Dakota, the gateway to the Black Hills. I try to do a pro and con video every year to update you on what stays the same and what maybe is a little bit different. And this year I've actually delved into some of my own YouTube comments and like places like Reddit to figure out what people are actually saying. Con number one, real winters. Yep, that was not going anywhere. We have winter, well, except last year is what, that's beside the point. That was weird. Generally speaking, we're going to have cold winters, harsh winds, blizzards, road closings, ice, all the things that you could expect in the north for a winter time. We can have a week of below digit temperatures with double digits below zero wind chill factors.
I'm not smoking, I'm praising.
And the next week be in the 30s and 40s and feel like it's spring already. Plus then there's that constant wind that's blowing things around, making blizzards, and flipping trampolines like quarters. However, based on this, you might think that South Dakota is one of the coldest states in the nation. However, we don't even crank the top 10. Obviously, Alaska and places like North Dakota and Minnesota actually come in colder than we do in the national rankings. What has changed is we're starting to see the weather patterns be even more unpredictable than they were before. Obviously, this past winter is really weird. We had more 50-degree days from December to March than we've ever had. We broke a lot of warmth records for daily warmth temperatures, but we even had some early season storms and some weird late season cold snaps that make things a little bit more interesting. So while you can look at your weather app for the weather, know that that could change in our heartbeat. Pro number one is affordability. This still remains the same, but with a little bit more of an asterisk this year versus last year. Overall, Rapid City is running about 2% lower than a national average when it comes to the average cost of living. However, if you've always had a job in Rapid City, your wage might be considerably lower, and that might not really matter because it's tough to make a living and afford the average $340,000 home in a Rapid City on $12 an hour. But if you're coming here from a lot of the metropolitan region areas, you'll find that Rapid City is considerably more affordable and your wallet will be much happier here in Rapid City. But if you're coming from other areas of the Midwest or the Southeast region, you might be very surprised about what you can't afford up here compared to what you're used to in that state down there. Con number two, limited urban amenities. This has kind of been the thing, always the same. Rapid City is not Denver, it's not Minneapolis. We don't have 5 Targets as you go down the road. We don't have the nightlife that you can expect from downtown Denver. We've got a Target, your Best Buy, a couple Walmart, Sam's Club, all the amenities that you need are going to be here, and a lot of great local restaurants, especially downtown, with a smattering of Olive Garden and Red Lobster and the national brands you've come to know and love. But if you're the person that needs a Michelin-starred restaurant every Friday night, or to hit the stadium and cheer for your professional sports team, this is not the place for you. I have had some people that have moved here from bigger towns and cities and have felt like there's nothing to do here. But I disagree in the sense that there's plenty to do here if you love the outdoor stuff. I'm not a big nightlife person, but I love all the things to do, whether it's hiking, biking, all the snow sports, just even being near the Black Hills and heading out to the Black Hills for whatever you want to do. People online agree with me that, yeah, they love the Black Hills, but the limited dining options, while getting better, with still pretty limited international and different cuisine items. Pro number two, no state income tax, and that's holding strong. Even if you're in a state that has a 2 to 3% state income tax, that can really take a chunk out of your wallet.
Taxes, beautiful, lovely taxes.
So it's really nice to not have to worry about that state income tax whatsoever, and that includes any tax on inheritances, pensions, and all the things when it comes to the end of life. Con number three, stupidly conservatively red. Now obviously this is a pro or a con depending on your thought forms and views. South Dakota is deeply conservative and has been for a number of years. And that's one of the major reasons people have been moving to our area, because they're trying to get out of things that are going on in the Democratic bluer states that they are not appreciating. These people are looking for less government regulation, more personal freedom, and a state that aligns with their values and a Rapid City delivers that. But if you hang a little more on the left side of the aisle and have strong opinions on certain policy issues, or if you're LGBTQ and searching for a affirming community, this might not be the state for you. There are definitely pockets in Rapid City that are a little more welcoming to your style of thinking, but in general, state level, they're going to remain pretty hard right conservative for a while. Pro number three, abundant sunshine. Yes, still making the list is the amount of sun that we get. Yes, we're not in Hawaii, but we still average about 265 days of sun or partial sun per year. If it ends up being cloudy for a whole week, we don't know what's going on. It feels just wrong. Even in the wintertime when it's 10 degrees and you can see your breath, that sun shining makes things feel a lot more happier, brighter, and makes the winter that much more bearable. I know someone that lives near Kalispell, and there's kind of a valley there just south of Glacier National Park, and they get a lot of clouds in that area. It's usually gloomy the entire winter, and I could not stand that. I love me some sunshine, and we got it here in South Dakota, which, believe it or not, used to be called the Sunshine State until Florida stole it from us, or something happened. I didn't do my research, but we'll go with that. Con number 4, construction and potholes. And they're getting worse. The construction cone is still this unofficial state animal in the state of South Dakota because we have such a short time to get all that work done. All the road construction happens all at once. Between the new B-21 bomber program coming here to Ellsworth, the growth of Rapid City, and everything else happening in between, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of different projects vying for those infrastructure dollars. The good news is that's really productive growth. The bad news is some of the smaller residential streets are kind of getting left behind. Those roads are really bumpy. Potholes are like a way of life. They keep working on those railroad crossings downtown, but sometimes they're always a free-for-all. If you're coming from a metro where all the roads are smooth and clear, expect to be disappointed. For number 4, nature and the outdoor recreation is still our crown jewel. A lot of people, when they look at South Dakota, naturally look at Sioux Falls versus the Rapid City area. And because of the Black Hills, because of the nature that we have surrounding our area, Rapid City wins out if, they can find the job versus Sioux Falls is usually the situation. Sioux Falls a lot of times will have a better job opportunity, but if they can swing it, they'd rather be in a Rapid City because of that outdoor recreation. In addition to the Black Hills, though, we have Rapid Creek that runs all the way through the city. There's the bike path. There's all the green spaces that are left over from the 1972 flood that we're not going to build on anymore. So there's so much nature without even leaving town. We've got a couple of hiking and biking trail hills, Canyon Lake, beautiful golf courses, so much nature to enjoy in a Rapid City without even leaving the city limits. Con number 5, low wages, still a real challenge for our area.
Avengers, time to work for a living.
Now, the average household income in the Rapid City area is around $70,000, which is greater than it was last year. But even though that is higher than last year, it still hasn't kept pace with the housing costs and everything else that has gone up and up in price over the past few years, especially since COVID. If you are a remote worker, bringing your salary from a higher cost of living market, you're going to feel like you won the lottery because things are going to be a lot easier for you. But some of the locals that have been here forever and are working in town with the jobs that are here are finding it harder and harder to afford a house, to buy a house, or to even make it day by day. And unfortunately, this has caused some rifts from some local people versus the people coming from out of town, because local people feel like it's the out-of-towners' fault that brought their big money here, bought up prices, and of course escalated all the values. Even though that's really not the complete story of the situation, that still is the underscore feeling around the Black Hills. Part number 5, low unemployment and job growth. As actually, this one is getting better. Ellsworth Air Force Base has always been one of the top employers of the area. It's one of the biggest economic boosts that we have as a general community. However, with the new B-21 bomber program that is coming to Ellsworth, it sounds like that's happening within the next year or two. We keep hearing years, and hopefully it'll actually happen here within the next year or two. This isn't just new planes coming to the area, it's a $1.5 billion expansion of the base itself. Part of that has included a whole new runway and places for the planes to be. This has included over 30 individual building projects and an expected addition of over 4,000 military members, spouses, airmen, and civilian workers over the next 20 years. The base already has an economic impact to the area of about $900 million and supports about 10,000 jobs directly or indirectly in western South Dakota. Plus, we've got a lot of happenings in the medical community. Monument Health has been building urgent cares and new hospitals all over town. There's a brand new hospital called Exceptional Healthcare in the works right now. And Sanford is planning on bringing their healthcare facility to Rapid City to be completed by 2030. Plus, with all the growth of Rapid City, if you're any kind of construction trade whatsoever, you should have no problem finding a job and employment in Rapid City. Con number 6 is crime, and this is something that you need to be aware of for sure. Rapid City does have a higher than average crime rate. There's numbers there, there's no disputing that. Property crime is the main driver. We're talking car break-ins, porch thefts, things like this. Violent crime actually has come down over the past few years, so we're starting to see a little bit less assaults, rapings, and muggings. In addition, that violent crime is actually lower than the national average. Now, the conversation around this also has to include the fact that Rapid City actually goes after the criminals. I've talked with a client of mine from Chicago who talked to me about some of the crime in Chicago where the cops are just hands are tied. They really can't do their job. So we do have higher crime rates in Rapid City, but the police officers are actually out there doing their job, doing their arrests, making the numbers happen. In addition to this, other conversations I've had with other police officers and deputies talk about the majority of the crimes happening bad guy to bad guy or domestic disturbances. And if you have a conversation with anybody in a Rapid City, they'll tell you there are certain areas that are better and worse than others, so you just have to do your research to know where crime is and where crime is not. Rapid City isn't a citywide war zone. You're not seeing thugs with Uzis leaning on late model 90s cars while they're walking down the street. But like any other American city, crime is there. So be aware of your surroundings, know the neighborhoods, and you should be just fine. Pro number 6, no traffic. Again, one of the things that I hear a lot of people talk about coming from metropolitan areas. They're amazed by the fact that the average commute time in Rapid City, 15 minutes. The national average is 30 minutes of commute time, where places like Denver and LA, you can be in traffic for over an hour. Yes, there's going to be more congestion as the city grows. I was out and about 1 o'clock on one Wednesday, wondering where all this traffic was coming from. Construction makes traffic more difficult, and of course the summer crowd comes in, and the tourists make life a little more congested during the peak times of the summer. But you're never sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic for a very long time, unless of course you go downtown where the train's coming. Usually you're moving right along through town about the speed limit, and you get where you want to go without spending hours and hours and hours in traffic. Con number 7, this has not changed: the wind and the hail. Still wild, still out there, still something you really need to consider when you're considering moving to the state. Usually the wind is always blowing at least a little bit. During the summertime is when it's quietest. You'll have an average about 8 miles an hour, 8 to 10. Usually it's hanging around probably 12 to 15. But when the seasons are changing in spring and fall, we can often see 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, sometimes daily, sometimes during the whole week. But when the storm comes, whether that be a winter storm that's causing a blizzard or a hot summer afternoon thunderstorm, those gusts can be 70 miles an hour sometimes, and that's not unusual. And then there's a hail. Each year there's usually one significant hailstorm that damages property and cars somewhere in the Black Hills. Fortunately, this isn't like a hurricane situation where your house is gone or a tornado. You just have good insurance to cover your damage and life goes on. But you need to be aware of that hail, and hey, it's coming. If you see that off in the distance, the clouds are kind of that gray-green, and you'll be able to feel it after a while. You'll know it's coming. Online, people have been noticing the change. More severe weather patterns, more severe storms, bigger hail events. So people are noticing and commenting on that online as well. Pro number 7, a strong sense of community, and this continues on. This is another one of those main reasons that people tell me after I've talked with them, hey, you've been here 6 months. What do you think about living here? And one of the underlying themes has been, people are so nice here. They feel welcome. They feel a part of the community. And this is generally true. People will smile to you along the path as you're walking by. They'll smile to you at the grocery store. Neighbors actually introduce themselves. I just had a closing where the listing agent reached out to me and said, hey, the community is having this potluck and they want to make sure that new buyers, my buyers, are invited. So I gave them the contact information so they can invite them to the community picnic. I've heard stories like this over and over and over again. I've been attending a few more events around the town recently, and I was just at the dedication of the time capsule that has been buried to be opened in 50 years in 2076. It was kind of a fun little ceremony that included a lot of different people, and you could kind of feel a sense of joy and happiness and a love for Rapid City. However, online the takes were a little more harsh. They felt like a lot of locals were indifferent or indignant towards people coming to the area, especially as the city has grown and some outside money has changed things. And I've even seen a little more of a discontentment towards tourists and like the shortest rally, which money provides our very lifeblood. Another client I've talked with, when he is opposition, simply says, hey, I love it here, I don't want to change a thing, and I'm so happy to be here. And the demeanor instantly changes if the other person seems to feel a little resentful. The Midwest warmth is a little more present in Rapid City. The smaller city feel makes people a little more connected and a little closer to each other. Con number 8, limited public transportation. This remains the same. Rapid City just ain't a walkable city. Depending on where you live, you might be walking miles to get to the nearest grocery store. We do have a bus system that goes the major routes. We've got Uber, we've got Lyft, we've got the taxis. But if you want the freedom of transportation, you really need to have a car to get where you want to go. The city is spread out, and even downtown, you're probably going to need a car to get to some of the major shopping areas. So if you have mobility limitations, you want to rely on public transit, or you just simply want to go car free, Rapid City is probably not the place you want to be. Scenic neighborhoods and views. If you've watched some of my neighborhood drive-through videos, you've seen some beautiful places that I've driven through, especially on the west side of town as you get up into the hills. But even on the east side of the city, you've got more deciduous type trees, but you've got the view of the hills to the west. And once those leaves start coming in, it makes for some very beautiful neighborhoods, especially in the spring and the fall. Plus, you've got the Treeline West Boulevard, Skyline Drive, Canyon Lake, and many other wonderful places in Rapid City that look spectacular. Travel still sucks. No matter how much we grow as a city, we're always going to be remote. The Rapid City Regional Airport, it is a wonderful, nice little small little airport. You'll have no problems getting in and out of it. However, what that means is that all we're doing is we're going to a hub. You're usually either going to Minneapolis, Denver, or Dallas, and then going wherever you're going to go from there. Obviously, there are a few flights like Allegiant takes us now to Florida, Allegiant takes us to Mesa, and there's a couple of one-way trips to Charlotte and San Francisco, but that's usually just during the summertime. So flights in and out of Rapid City are usually a little more expensive, and it's usually an all-day affair, not just a 2-hour hop to the next city. And if you want to drive somewhere, I hope you like road trips. It's 5 hours to the nearest comparable big city, and 6 to 7 hours to Denver, 8 hours to Omaha, Nebraska, 10 hours to Minneapolis. You get the drift. And if you want to escape said snow drifts during the wintertime, it's a couple days drive to get far enough south to escape the snow. Not to mention driving in the wintertime, you could see anything. You could leave Rapid City and the sun is shining. By the time you got to Wausau, you have a full-on ice storm and then a beautiful blizzard by the time you get to Sioux Falls, if you made it that far without the road closing. Pro number 9, 4 seasons and everything that comes with it. I'll end this on a pro because this one is generally underrated. We did talk about the con of having all that winter time, all that unpredictability, but on the other hand, you get to experience spring, summer, fall, and winter, and everything that comes along with it. All the variety, all the beauty. I mean, the trails that you walk in the summertime are a whole different world. We walk them in the wintertime with your snowshoes. The fall foliage of the Black Hills is breathtaking. The right kind of snow at Christmas time looks like a Christmas card. When the fruit trees start flowering in the spring and you start smelling the sweet aroma, it smells and feels like spring. And our summers here are amazing. Yes, it's warm, but it's not incredibly warm. The humidity is lower, so it doesn't feel like you're wrung out. And that sun is shining, so we can go out and do all the fun things in the summertime. Yes, you're going to have some days in January and February where you're questioning your life decisions 100%. But then when that spring comes, you'll remember what it's all about. In 2026, a lot of things have stayed the same as 2025, but a few things have changed. Based on what people are saying online, the biggest things are the city is growing fast. We need to make sure that we grow the right way and not spend money stupidly. The outdoor lifestyle is still world class, but affordability and crime are the issues at hand. If you like this video, make sure you check out this playlist of all the fun things to do and see in a Rapid City, South Dakota. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Remember, love where you live.